moron can get the origin. It's right there for you. If you didn't get the origin, that means you're dumb. Because it's right there, all you have to do is copy it. Why should you get points for copying? You shouldn't, right? The purpose usually is given to you. Why is so-and-so giving a speech? Right? Again, any moron can do that. Because all you're doing is copying. Okay? So what I want to know is how origin and how purpose
coincide
are values or limitations.
Those two should be the paragraph of those two.
Yes, so when you should have one paragraph on values, one paragraph on limitations. And then in your values, if the origin is a value. Okay? So if we're talking about the Industrial Revolution, it's a different type of revolution, right? If we're talking about the Industrial Revolution and we have a source from Karl Marx, who is the inventor of communism, but he was living during the time of the Industrial Revolution, and he's kind of an expert because he lived during that era. So Karl Marx, as the origin, he lived during that time, could be quite a value, right? It could also be a limitation because he had a very specific bias and maybe had a very specific perspective. The other thing you have to realize when you're doing value and limitation in OPVL, bias is not always a limitation. For example, if I want to learn about Nazi Germany and the Nazi perspective of the world, and I have a speech from Hitler, it's going to be, or Mein Kampf, it's going to be pretty biased. But that's what I want, because what I'm studying is the Nazi perspective.
Yes.
So
unbiased Hitler. Oh, yeah. Germans are
so what you need to do,
So
what you need to do for your values and limitations, explain what makes it a value and what makes it a limitation. Just being a primary source doesn't mean you're valuable. There's a lot of primary sources that are huge limitations.
Are useless.
Yeah, completely useless.
Like Trump.
Eh?
You take a Trump speech.
But no, why do you think police don't just automatically believe all eyewitness accounts? They're all primary sources, but do you just believe what somebody says?
I saw a dragon at the crime scene.
You don't, okay? So we went through all this when we did the migrations celebration. So you understand how to answer question 2? Okay, question 3. Compare and contrast.
For value, what should we include in this?
What makes it helpful for you as someone studying that topic?
What's nice about it?
What's good about it?
What's good about it? The limitations are what's bad about it. Yeah. Okay? Now, number 3 is going to ask you to compare and contrast 2 sources. How do you organize this?
Send that to me too.
Send to everyone.
You're going to organize it into 2 paragraphs again. Compare and contrast. Okay? Now, here's what you should not do. If it says compare and contrast source A and source B, and you do a paragraph about source A and you do a paragraph about source B, that's terrible. You're not comparing and contrasting anything. You're just telling me about the sources. I know about the sources. I made the test.
With the help of
Okay? I don't need you to tell me about the sources.
Would be paragraph 1 is compare, contrast?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
And then your comparisons, you should have two comparisons. Okay, so you're going to have comparison number 1. You're going to tell me what it says in source A and source B that makes them comparisons. Then you're going to have comparison number 2, source A and source B, and what they compare, right? I want specific, like, this is one paragraph.
Both of them together or just one each?
Wait, can you clarify that? Like, what do you mean?
Wait, you compare and
Clarify that.
So, what is a comparison?
Just finding the differences between.
Not differences, that's a contrast.
Similarities.
Okay, a similarity. So, there are going to be some similarities in those sources. How do you know? Because I wouldn't tell you to do a compare and contrast essay if there were no similarities. Okay? So there's going to be some similarities. You're going to pick out one similarity. Maybe both sources talk about the first stage of revolutions. Okay? But then you're going to have to show me how does source A show that for that first stage of revolutions, and how does source B do it? Right? That's where the comparison comes in, that you're recognizing they both do it at some point. These may be quotations directly from the source. Okay? Then you'll find a second comparison, right? That both sources refer to Crane Britain and his model of revolutions. Okay? A does it by doing this, and B does it by doing this. Okay? Then you move on to contrasts. Contrasts will be the same as comparisons, except now you're looking at differences. Source A and B differ, or they contrast by this. Here's our first contrast, right? Source A talks about the Crane Britain model, but source B ignores that there's a model for revolutions. How do I know this? Because source A says this about Crane Britain, whereas source B states that all revolutions are different. Right? Then you'll have a second contrasting statement. Right? Second difference between the two sources. And again, A and B. Explain why they're different. And bring examples from the sources. Okay?
Yeah.
We good?
What's 4?
Okay. We'll get there in a second. I want to go back to origin, or the values and limitations for a second.
Thank you.
2 values, 2 limitations. That's what you're looking for. 2 and 2. 2 and 2. Same with compare and contrast. 2 and 2. 2 and 2.
Not 1 and 1?
Not 1 and 1. 2 and 2.
Not 3 and 3.
Not 3 and 3. 2 and 2. Not 3 and 2. 2 and 2.
What about 1 and 2?
No, 2 and 2.
6,
4
7.
and
2,
2?
2.
2 and 2.
2 and 2. Yes.
What about 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1?
No. 2 plus 2.
Well, that's the same.
1 plus 1 and 1 plus 1.
No, I don't want that. I want 2 plus 2.
Just to make sure.
Okay? Now, one thing I want to point out before we get to number 4. Okay? Number 1A. Do you have to know any history to answer 1A?
No.
No, you're just looking at a source and telling me 3 things the source says, right? Don't have to know any history. What is the message in source B? Do you need to know any history
No.
to answer that?
No.
No, not really. Right on. Okay, origin and purpose. Value and limitation. Do you have to know any history to do that?
Not too much. Not too much.
Not really.
It's really helpful.
It might be helpful, but
The values and the limitations.
could be, yes. But you could probably do all right without it. Compare and contrast 2 sources. Need to know any history?
No. Maybe, little,
sources?
a little
Just
bit.
comparing and contrasting two sources.
But won't the sources can be implied in a historical way which can find your differences?
Possibly, but you're just comparing and contrasting two sources.
Wait, can you give us an example of a source? Like, what type of sources would be like...
Excerpts from readings, excerpts from speeches.
Could they be images, like visual?
Yes, one will be.
Okay, so we would have to do reading during reading.
One will be, oh yeah. Okay? So really, so far you don't need to study that much history. But number 4 you do.
History.
Number 4 is going to be an open essay.
About the revolution.
And it will say something like, using the sources
Right.
and your own knowledge.
Yeah. Yeah. What?
And then it'll ask a question about revolutions.
Are we just focusing on French and like?
No, not necessarily.
And we have the revolution being now.
Yes.
Like all the 9.
Yeah. Okay, so when it says using the sources, you must use all 4. If you do not use all 4 sources in your argument, not just mentioning them, but actually using them to make your argument, you will lose marks. So you have to use all 4 sources.
Will the last number 4 give you the most points?
Because it's not points, because we're still using MYP criteria, but it covers the most criteria. Okay? And then you have to have your own knowledge. This is knowledge that will not be included in the 4 sources. If it's included in the 4 sources, it's not considered your own knowledge, even if it is. Okay?
So you have to use every single source.
Yes.
What about if that
Correct.
Josh?
Our own knowledge, could you at least tell us the area will all be inside the pamphlet, right? Inside the reading. So it's only own knowledge from the reading.
Yeah, or your own, but it's things that's not in the sources.
Okay.
Yes. Okay?
Also on the essay structure, will the essay be focused on using the 4 points, or will you make an argument and then use the 4 points as part of it?
Make an argument using the 4 sources to support it.
Okay.
Yes.
So not about the 4 points.
Not about the 4. Yeah.
Okay.
Josh.
So to study the question number 4, do you want us to like know a little bit about everything?
Every packet, everything in the packet.
We might just talk about Syria or...
Maybe.
So that's the only thing we need to
It will
study?
be an open-ended question. What? The packet, the handout, that's all you got to study. The Revolutions handout, Revolutions readings.
If we get that, then there's something comes up
There never is.
here.
There never has been.
What is this? We just learned this.
I've never put anything surprising out.
But I think you can stop it. I want it because I think...
Okay?
It's the media.
That-
Froth is the media.
That is your celebration. That's all you need to know.
One last question.
Now that, yes?
About the values and limitations, usually when I do them in the way of for answering a specific question, but will we get a specific question to answer when doing them, or just in general?
Okay, you can stop.